Chapter 1. The Blades in the Air. There's a detail in the record about this creature that reads less like biology than like a warning. When it moves at full speed, and full speed for this thing is the speed of sound, the air it passes through does not simply part around it, it turns. The wind itself comes off the creature's body as blades, edged and fast, and the trees in its path are cut down where they stand. Not knocked over, cut. A stand of timber, felled by nothing anyone could see, by something that was already a mile gone by the time the first trunk hit the ground. And it does not lose what it is chasing. That is not a flourish. It is set down in the file as a flat fact about the animal. It never allows its prey to escape. Once it is fixed on a living thing, once the sensors on its head have found something warm and moving, however far off, that thing does not get away. There is no version of the chase where the prey is fast enough, or clever enough, or lucky enough. It flies at the speed of a fighter jet. It can read the position of something alive from miles away. And it has, on record, dropped into a whole flock of flying creatures and swallowed the entire flock down without slowing. Read that again because it is easy to skim past. Not picked one bird out of the flock. It comes through a flying mass of living things at the speed of sound, and the mass is simply gone, taken down whole in a single pass, and the sky where they were is empty. This is the most complete predator the cave country ever produced. And it began its life as the single most helpless thing living in the dark. This is a record the games left unfinished. Chapter 2. The Helpless Thing in the Dark. Go back to the start of it, before the speed and the blades, and you find something that can barely look after itself. The first form is small and squat, and almost comically badly built for the life it is born into. It has no neck. Its arms start at the corners of its enormous mouth, which is most of its body, and that mouth is full of sharp teeth. And here is the first thing the record tells you about how it uses them. It bites everything. Anything that moves, it chomps. And it is so clumsy doing it that it often hurts itself in the act, closes those powerful jaws badly, catches itself, chips its own teeth, loses them entirely in the scuffle. A predator to be, that is, at this stage, a genuine danger, mostly to itself. It does not even bite out of hunger much of the time. It bites because biting is what it is. Anything that moves in front of it gets chomped, reflexively, instinctively, before there is any decision in it. And this is so deeply wired that it becomes one of the hardest habits in the world to train out of one later. The drive to clamp down on whatever is near is not a behavior it has. It is closer to who it is. And the only tool that drive has to work with, this young, is a mouth it has not yet learned to aim. The teeth do not stop it, because the teeth come back. Within a few days of losing one, a new one has grown into the gap. The body already racing from infancy to repair the damage a life of biting is going to keep doing to it. It is never bothered by the loss. It simply keeps biting, keeps breaking, keeps regrowing, a small engine of trial and error learning, the hard way, how to use the only weapon it has. But out in the open, it would not last. It is too slow, too small, too low to the ground, surrounded by things that hunt. So it does the one thing it is genuinely good at. It goes underground. It is a superb digger from the very beginning. The record compares it to a shark moving through water, except the water is solid earth, and it carves narrow holes for itself deep in the rock, in the parts of the cave warmed from below by the heat of the planet itself. That geothermal warmth is what keeps it alive. In those heated burrows, it can survive the winter that would otherwise kill something its size. And when even that is not enough, it huddles together with others of its kind in the dark, a pile of small, clumsy things sharing what heat they have, waiting out the cold the only way they can. And it is not alone down there in the way it might prefer. A small, slow, ground-bound thing is exactly what the larger hunters of the open country are looking for, and the dark is the only place it is safe from them. So the burrow is not just a furnace, it is a hiding place. The whole shape of its early life, the digging, the depth, the heat-seeking, the huddling, is the shape of a creature that has worked out it cannot yet win a fight in the open, and has decided, correctly, to stay where the things that would eat it cannot follow. There is one tell buried in all that clumsiness, though. The fin along its back is already, even this young, strong enough to carry the weight of a grown person. The foundations of the powerhouse are in there. They are just buried under a body that keeps tripping over its own jaws. That is the whole of its early life. Hide in the warm dark, bite what comes near, break and regrow, survive long enough to become something the dark no longer has to protect. Chapter 3. The Hoarder. When it has survived long enough, it changes. And the thing it changes into is no longer the cave's victim. It is the cave's landlord. The middle form is larger, sharper, and built around an obsession. It digs constantly now, not to hide but to expand, driving tunnels through the rock, enlarging its nest into a system of its own. And as it digs, it turns up what the deep rock holds. Gems, crystals, precious stones, the bright buried things the earth makes under pressure over ages. And it keeps them, every one. It hauls its finds back into its nest and piles them up and guards the hoard with a jealousy the record describes plainly. Its treasure is constantly targeted by thieves, and it spends its life defending a pile of stones from anything that comes for them. It is, at this stage, essentially a dragon in the oldest sense of the word, a fierce thing curled around a heap of gold in a cave, all teeth and territory. And the record preserves one small, strange observation about that fierceness, written by someone who got close enough to test it. These creatures are violent by nature, but this researcher took one that had been eyeing a single glass bead with open want and handed it the bead. And the violent thing, given the shiny object it coveted, went quiet, went docile. The whole disposition softened around the having of one bright stone, a killer's body with a magpie's heart. It is worth sitting with how odd that is. The thing will defend its hoard to the death against a thief, will turn its considerable violence on anything that reaches for its stones, and the same creature can be disarmed completely by being handed a stone it wanted. The aggression was never really about danger. It was about having. What it guards because it is its. What it is given, it accepts, and the war goes out of it. A whole predator's temper, organized entirely around a pile of bright things it found in the dark and decided belonged to it. It navigates its lightless world by sound. The two engine-shaped growths on the sides of its head are not decoration. They emit ultrasound, and it reads the echoes the way a bat does, building a map of the pitch-black tunnels out of returning sound, moving fast and sure through a darkness with no light in it at all. And its body is rebuilding itself the whole time it lives down here. It grows the way a thing with armor has to grow, not by stretching, but by shedding. Every so often it molts, sloughs off the old outer layer, the old scales, and hardens into a larger version underneath, each cycle leaving the cast-off shell behind in the tunnels, and the creature a size bigger than it was. It is, in the most literal sense, building towards something. The digging, the hoarding, the shedding, all of it is a middle chapter, a long, industrious holding pattern, while the body assembles, piece by discarded piece, the frame it will need for a sky it has not yet seen. And there is one more thing it carries, which is the reason other creatures come looking for it rather than away. Its scales, on the rare occasions it sheds them, are medicine. Not folklore, the record states it directly. A remedy made from its shed scales can ease almost any illness, even the ones thought incurable, can take a worn-out, failing body and make it feel strong again. So the fierce hoarder, the thing that guards a cave of stones and softens only for a bead, is also walking pharmacy, and the sick, the desperate, and the opportunistic all have reason to risk the teeth to get close to what falls off its back. Chapter 4. What Nothing Escapes. And then, rarely, in the deep places where almost no one sees it happen, the hoarder becomes the thing this whole record has been building toward. The final form stands over 6 feet tall, and everything about it has been re-engineered for a single purpose: catching things. The clumsy infant and the territorial digger are both gone. What is left is a body shaped almost exactly like an aircraft, and that is not a metaphor the record is shy about. When it folds its limbs in against itself and spreads the fins along its body, it stops looking like an animal and starts looking like a jet plane, and then it flies like one, at the speed of sound. A creature the weight of a large predator, tearing through open air at the speed of a fighter aircraft. Look at the body that does this, and you are looking at 3 different killers fused into one. The head is a hammerhead shark's, flattened and widened, the sensor stalks jutting out to either side. The folded silhouette is an aircraft's, and under it all is the dragon. The gill slits at the throat, the armored hide, the old predatory patience. Land shark, jet, and dragon, welded into a single animal whose entire design converges on one verb: catch. How it does this is, honestly, not fully explained, and the honest version of the record admits as much. Its body is sheathed in fine scales that cut its drag, that let the air slide past it cleanly, and that is part of the answer. But a thing that size, with wings that small, flying that fast, sits at the edge of what should be possible, and the file does not pretend to have closed the question. It simply records that it happens. The land's heaviest shark folds itself into the shape of a missile and goes supersonic, and science writes down what it sees and leaves the rest open. There is something almost honest in that gap. Most of the creatures in this record get explained down to the mechanism. This one, the file hands you a thing that should not be able to do what it plainly does. Too heavy, wings too small, moving far too fast, and rather than invent a reason, it simply holds the contradiction open and lets it stand. The land's heaviest predator flies at the speed of sound, and nobody can fully say how, and it does it anyway, every day, indifferent to the fact that it does not quite add up. What it does with that speed is the part that earns the warning. The sensors on its head reach out and find prey at distances nothing should be detectable across, and once it has a target, the chase is already over, because it never allows its prey to escape. It runs nothing down halfway. It dives into entire flocks of flying creatures and takes the whole flock down at once, swallowing them whole in passing. High above the mountains, it fights other great flying predators, the few things in its world fast enough to contest it, wheeling through mid-air duels over territory and food with rivals nearly its equal, and coming away with the kill. It is just as fast below the ground as above it, which means there is no terrain that buys an escape. Flying things cannot outclimb it, and burrowing things cannot outdig it. The speed simply follows the prey into whichever element it flees to. And there is a small, almost domestic detail tucked into the record that somehow makes the whole picture colder rather than warmer. After a kill, it hurries the prey home, racing back to its den before its own body has had time to cool from the chase. A thing that runs so hot from the sheer effort of supersonic flight that it has a narrow window after eating to get back underground before it loses the heat, and uses that window every single time. The most recent observers, watching one cross the open sky, could only describe it as a sight that was magnificent and terrifying at once, which is the closest the record ever comes to admitting that the people writing it down were frightened of the thing they were describing. The thing that began life hiding in a warm hole, breaking its own teeth, too slow to survive above ground, is now the single fastest hunter in the country, and the one from which there is no escape. The dark it once needed to hide in is now just the place it sleeps between hunts. It comes out, it feeds, it returns. The record's verdict on meeting one in the wild is 4 blunt words about its temperament: a feral disposition, followed by a flat instruction to use the utmost caution, because by the time you are close enough to read its mood, you are already inside its reach. Chapter 5. The Price of the Perfect. A thing optimized this completely does not get there for free, and the record keeps the bill in 2 places. The first is written into the very scales that let it fly. Those fine plates do not only smooth the air, their edges are sharp, sharp enough that anything which strikes the creature is cut by the act of touching it. Its skin is armor and weapon at once. To attack it is to be wounded on it, and to simply make contact with it is to bleed, which means the apex predator, the magnificent thing soaring at the speed of sound, is also, at the level of its own hide, untouchable. Nothing can lay a hand on it without being opened up. The perfection that makes it unbeatable also seals it inside a body no other living thing can hold. A creature finished into total solitude, defended right down to the surface of its skin from ever being touched at all. Consider what that forecloses. Not only enemies, everything. There is no resting against another of its own kind, no contact that is not a cut, no version of this animal that can be held gently by anything, ever, because the holding itself draws blood. The same evolutionary push that made it untouchable to predators made it untouchable, full stop. The second cost is what happens when it is pushed past even this. There is a state this creature can be driven into, a surge of raw power beyond its natural ceiling, and the record is unsettlingly specific about what that does to it. Its wings harden into scythes, and the flood of power that comes with them does not make it a better predator. It sends it mad with rage. The control is gone. It swings the blades wildly, slashing at everything in reach, and when there is nothing in reach, it slashes the ground, slices the ground to pieces beneath itself, a creature so overloaded with its own strength that it turns on the earth it is standing on. It becomes more vicious, less precise, a thrashing engine of edges, and in trading up to that, it gives away the one thing that defined it. The speed. The fastest hunter alive, pushed to its absolute peak, becomes slower, heavier, and barely in command of itself. Power bought at the exact price of the grace that made the power matter. And the line did not stop there. The very newest record adds a further form still, one in which the dragon energy has grown stronger again. Broader wings have sprouted from the head and arms. The claws have lengthened into something crueler, and the rage of the scythe form has, strangely, gone cold. This one does not thrash. It hovers, lifts off the ground entirely and stays there, looking down on whatever it has chosen to kill from above. Calm, composed, sharper than any version before it. Where the first overload drove the creature mad, this one has made it serene, which is somehow worse. The perfect predator, optimized one more notch, no longer needs to lose control to do what it does. It simply rises and watches and waits. That is the far end of this line, a creature built stage by stage, into the most efficient hunter its world contains, and then carried one step past efficiency into something that can no longer fully tell its prey from the dirt under its feet. Chapter 6. The One Way In. So here's the closing problem the record leaves you with. This is, by its own account, a feral thing, untamable in the wild, untouchable at the skin, inescapable in the air. Everything about the finished creature is built to keep the world out, to hunt it, outrun it, or cut it. By every measure that matters, there is no way to get close to a grown one and live as anything other than its next meal. And yet it can be reached. There is exactly one path, and the record is clear about it. You cannot win a Garchomp. You cannot catch the apex and break it to your side. The feral disposition does not bend, and the scales do not forgive a grip. The only way to ever stand beside one is to go back to the beginning, to take it as the helpless thing in the dark, the clumsy infant that breaks its own teeth and hides in the warm rock, and to be there for the whole of it, through the chipped teeth and the regrowing. through the hoarding and the gem guarding and the long molt toward the sky, to raise it from the most defenseless point of its life before it becomes the thing nothing can hold. This is also why it has to be that early specifically. Remember the biting, the reflexive, instinctive, who it is drive to clamp down on anything that moves. In a creature you have raised from the dark, that drive gets a chance to be shaped, slowly, across every clumsy stage, into something that knows the difference between you and prey. Leave it until the creature is grown, and there is no shaping left to do. The instinct has hardened along with the scales, and the thing in front of you is not a partner who has not learned trust yet. It is a finished apex with no reason to offer any. The window is not merely early, it is the only window there is. A creature raised that way does not turn out distant. It turns out to be the most loyal thing a person can have at their side, fierce for you instead of at you, the speed and the blades and the bottomless will to never let prey escape, all pointed now in your defense. The most famous of them all, the one that stands beside a region's champion, was not captured. It was hatched from an egg and raised through every clumsy, dangerous, gem-hoarding stage by someone who decided to be there from the start. The thing nothing can catch can still, it turns out, be chosen, just not late. The perfect predator was once the weakest thing in the cave, and the only door into it was always back there, in the dark, before it learned how completely it could keep the world away. The file stays open.